Afternoon, everyone. Andrew here with Nashville Severe Weather, and we got a severe thunderstorm warning that's out, and this is for western Williamson County, and pretty much just includes Fairview and folks in the far western side of Williamson County right now. That could change, and it could include Davidson County as the storms get a little bit closer. But right now, these storms, or the severe thunderstorm warning, only includes western parts of Williamson County. So let's take a look at where that is. You can see right there on the polygon where we're looking, and this is for Fairview, Craigfield, Greenbrier, Kingfield, areas like that in the western side of Williamson County. Now, what is this for? This is for 60-mile-per-hour winds. And you can see here, don't mind the red there and the velocities, but could have some strong winds here. You see in the blues, these are winds that could be in the 65-mile-per-hour range. And again, don't mind the red there. That's just a radar error, but 60 to 65-mile-per-hour winds possible, especially there in Houston County. And that's over there near Aaron and Tennessee Ridge. But this is all moving east, and the Weather Service has drawn up a pretty large severe thunderstorm warning that covers, again, western Williamson County, and does not include Davidson yet. So we'll see if that gets included a little bit later. So that's where we are right now. And let's see, Will is over on Twitter. Will's taking care of Twitter for us today. And as always, you can send us your reports using hashtag TSpotter. Those are always important. And so we want to get your reports for any damage that you might see as these storms come in. Those were particularly important yesterday, and that continues to be the case today. So again, if you're just joining us, severe thunderstorm warning for storms that are still back to the west of us a little bit, but not by too much. They're about 1 or 2 counties away now, and you're looking at velocity data. And anywhere you see these bright blues, these are places where there are some very strong gusty winds. Would not be out of the question to see little spin-up tornadoes like we had yesterday, little spin-up funnels. There was some video in Franklin of a funnel cloud and potential damage down there. There was some damage down there in Franklin, but potential very small spin-ups possible today as we had yesterday. But that's not the big concern. The big concern is going to be the damaging straight line winds that we could see out of this as these storms come in. So let's back out a little bit, give you a general idea of what the setup is today. And the setup today involves this bowed line of storms. It stretches all the way from Kentucky through western Middle Tennessee and down to Mississippi. So this bowed line of storms that's coming our way, we are right on the front of this bow. So the bow is aimed right at us, and that is typically where you would find your strongest straight line winds when you have a storm setup like this, and that's what we're going to be watching today. So, hey, thanks for joining us on this Sunday, and we'll be here for a while covering these. It looks like these storms would be in the Nashville area, probably here in the next hour or so. So, hey, Will.
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
I'm good. We're just, I'm sorry? We're just kind of setting up the setup here. So severe thunderstorm warning continues, and this is going to be in effect until 3 o'clock. So the warning will be in effect until 3 o'clock, and then at that point they'll either extend it further east into Davidson County and further into Williamson County, or they'll just kind of change it up a little bit, and depending on what the conditions are at the time. So one of the ways that they make decisions as far as warnings go, one of the ways they make decisions is based on your reports. And so if you see any wind damage that happens from the storms that you are in, please send us reports using hashtag TSpotter on Twitter. You can give those reports to us, and we'll send those to the Weather Service. Oftentimes, they're monitoring that TSpotter feed, and they'll see those reports instantaneously up there. So that's very helpful. And then over on Instagram, I think Elon's over on Instagram today, and Elon will get your reports through direct message on Instagram, and he'll pass those to us and the Weather Service as well. So that's what we're looking at today with this severe thunderstorm warning. Just because you're in Nashville and not included in this yet, or Franklin or Brentwood, Nolensville, any place like that, you might be included soon. So don't, just because you're not included yet, they're moving from west to east, and you might be included soon. All right. So here we are because of the severe thunderstorm warning in Williamson County. The first folks to get the storms will probably be Fairview and Craigfield and places like that, Pinewood Road, people like that over on the western side of Williamson County. That's who is included currently in the polygon, but we expect that this polygon will get bigger and include more of Davidson County. I've got some coffee today, Will. I'm feeling like I need some coffee, and so I'm going to be sipping on that.
I know we've been kind of getting after it here the last few days. We've done a lot of these. I know we were just doing this yesterday around the same, a little earlier in the day, with the same kind of threats that we're looking at today. So hopefully these winds stay below severe limits. We do have our first 2 lightning strikes within our high resolution lightning box that I'm looking at on the screen here in the Charlotte community of Dickson County. So about to come into Cheatham. I think the Weather Service is pretty confident that these wind gusts that we're seeing to our west will continue. That's why they drew such a large severe thunderstorm warning polygon. And it won't be long before we see some dark skies to our west.
There we go. Turn my mic back on. I think you're right. This is TB&A radar. Now, TB&A showed a lot of detail yesterday in the storms that the Weather Service radar was not able to see as well for lots of different reasons. But the TB&A radar is a very good wind velocity radar. Just because of the way it is. How's that? These storms are just now coming into view of TB&A. And let me just give you an idea. Up here at around 3,000 feet, 3,200 feet, winds are blowing at 80 miles per hour. Now that's off the surface. It's about 3,000 feet off the ground. But coming into Dickson, they're pretty gusty winds. And so this radar will have a pretty good view of these storms as they come into view. You can see where the cutoff here is on the range, where the range ends on this radar. So as the storms come through Hickman County and Dickson County and Cheatham, certainly, we're going to get a pretty good view on TB&A of these storms. So, and back over to the Weather Service radar, we can see further, but the definition isn't as high on velocities. And so the big question is right now, I'm very curious about the velocities down here coming into Hickman County, back here in Perry County, and I'm curious to know if the wind velocities are as high down here as they are up here in the northern part of the storm. So TB&A will give us a better idea of that once it comes in range as it gets a little closer. So some storms out ahead of the main line have popped up, and those are in Dickson County now. So if you're in Nashville, you might get some storms, some small storm cells out ahead of the main line. So don't be fooled if you get a little storm and it lasts, 10 minutes. The bigger line is likely still west of you. So just keep that in mind with those storms that are out ahead of the main line. Let's see. Excuse me. This is in effect till 3, I think we said, right, Will? Yep, 3 o'clock. This thing's moving. 35 miles an hour. It's moving pretty good. Checking the Weather Service chat here. No real updates. Getting some tree down reports there in chat, Weather Service chat. Up there in Stewart County, tree down up there. That's up here in the northwestern corner of Middle Tennessee. Looking at our replies in Twitter, and Russell is over in Bartlett in West Tennessee. And they had some trees down with this line of storms as it came in, some minor debris scattered around. So appreciate Russell's report there. From Bartlett, Tennessee, back in West Tennessee, but may not be here in Davidson or Williamson, but it is certainly helpful to have reports from those folks back to the west. They've already been through this storm, and it's helpful to know what it produced for them. So that's why these warnings are in effect. That's why we've got the warnings, is for 60 mile per hour potentially damaging winds. And let's talk about what to do with this as it comes through while we're kind of still waiting on these things to come in. As we saw yesterday, trees falling, they're a bad deal. And so I actually had a tree come straight down through the center of our above-ground swimming pool in the backyard. Totally demolished the whole thing. It just sliced it in half. So trees coming down are a bad deal. So we want you to be protected from that. The 60-mile-per-hour winds, straight-line winds, can certainly bring trees down. They did yesterday in my yard and in many other places around both of our counties. So be protected from that. You don't want to be driving on a road that has a bunch of trees alongside of it. You want to be in a building. You don't want to be under a canopy or pavilion or anything like that. You want to be in a building and preferably away from trees. So that's the best way to prepare for this. Could there be a quick spin-up tornado in this? Yes. We have seen that the past day or so. They usually don't produce a lot of damage, except for an extremely small area. So they're usually not a widespread damage maker. Maybe a quick spin-up tornado, that's possible. And the Weather Service noted that earlier today. But by far, the vast majority of us, if you see any damage, it's probably going to be just from damaging straight-line thunderstorm winds that we get this time of year. And that's what this warning is for. And that's what we're going to be watching as it comes in. Let's check velocities again. They're still pretty high. So coming into Dickson County here, seeing some places here where winds could be 60 miles per hour. And that's probably a couple thousand feet up. Let me look here on another radar. About 3,500 feet. Let me check TBNA. It probably shows the same thing, and it does. So here's TBNA. It shows the same thing here. In fact, it's showing 78 miles per hour at about 2,600 feet. And that's coming into Dickson and White Bluff here in just a little bit. So right down the middle of this warning, polygon. And so those of you in Cheatham County and western Davidson could see these strong winds here in just a little bit. Will, I guess you're going to be watching the T-Spotter feed too. Is that right, while you do Twitter?
Yeah, so covering outbound communications on Twitter. David's out today. Watching for replies, checking out the T-Spotter column. Haven't seen a whole lot come in so far, but we're getting towards some more populated places as it transitions kind of from that West Tennessee, west of Waverly area, back, towards us. So we'll probably see reports go up if there are trees down, just more people to report those into us. Really watching the area of wind intensity there in the middle of Dickson County. You've got it up on your screen there, Andrew. From a trajectory standpoint, you think that is going to stay north of I-40 as it comes into town?
Let's put it in motion here, and I think we could easily be fooled into thinking that the velocities aren't as high south of 40. I think that would be I think the radar just doesn't have as good of a read on it south of 40. Mm-hmm. So I don't. Clearly, the Weather Service doesn't think they're as strong south of 40 because there's no warning down there. So I tend to think that it is less. However, it wouldn't take much if the winds did crank up down there, the radar at the Weather Service may not see it very well. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on that. I'm more inclined to watch TBNA here. We'll have a better idea of the winds south of 40. And there you go. You can already see even some of the winds south of 40 there. Even coming in.
Right there.
Yeah, that's TBNA. So,
Yeah.
we're just getting some 60-mile-per-hour winds south of 40 as well. So I think anybody up and down the line, and particularly those inside the polygon, could see these strong winds. Some radars will view a storm differently. It just gives a different angle, a different approach to the storm based on where it's located. And so the different radars in our area have strengths and weaknesses. And so it takes all of them to give us a complete picture of what's going on. It's just like we don't ever look at just one computer model and make a forecast out of it. That's not how forecasting works. You look at multiple angles of the scenario to develop a forecast. Same thing here. You don't want to just look at one radar and consider that exactly what's going on. All of them have strengths and weaknesses here. So that we'll be keeping an eye on that. This is the Weather Service's radar. It's going to do better at viewing wind velocities north of I-40 today, just based on the trajectory of this storm. Their radar is located over here in Old Hickory, and it's going to view the velocities better for storms north of 40 and give us better wind readings from there. TBNA is going to do a little bit of a better job south of 40 because it's located down here in Nolensville. So shooting back to the west, right directly at the storms, it's gonna view storms along and south of 40.
Also, that very vertical tilt they have today really helps as well. To that line, the way it's set up, it's not slanted where OHX is giving it a glancing blow, right?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's right. We're looking
OHX
directly at it.
Pretty square, yeah.
That's right. So, yeah, the Doppler effect is exactly what this is. So to get the best velocity reading, you're going to want to look at something that's directly in front of you, heading directly toward you. And that's exactly what these storms are doing. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So this line of storms is heading directly for the radar. It's going to have a pretty good read on it today. So it looks like the Weather Service radar, still showing some winds, potentially 60 miles per hour there in Dickson. Looks like 50, 55, 60 perhaps in there. Definitely up around in northern Dickson County, Van Leer, Sladen. Mm-hmm. Still seeing 60, 65s up there. And the Weather Service confirms that there. I'm just looking in the chat here. Radar showing the strongest winds up there in northern Dickson County.
Yeah, I see
that. And they acknowledge that the southern part of the line so far is staying weaker. We'll take that. No argument here. So let's go back to our traditional radar view. Let's kind of look at the wide view again. Let me go back to reflectivities. Let's widen our view. All right, so we still have what we were seeing earlier. We have this bowed line of storms, almost a little bit of a broken line. It's not completely solid, but pretty close. So pretty solid line of storms. A bow echo, as we call it, heading directly east. We just happen to be directly east of this bow echo, so it's heading right for us. Probably a pretty good shelf cloud out in front of it. They make good pictures, but not that I'm saying that's a good idea. But probably a pretty decent shelf cloud out in front of it with this bow echo. And it might look kind of scary, but we don't see anything incredibly scary with this other than the fact that we could have some 60-mile-per-hour winds, like Will said, mainly north of 40, along and north of 40. So Fairview, though, you're close to 40, but that's just a rough estimate. Fairview, yeah, you could get those 60-mile-per-hour winds. I just almost spilled my coffee for the second day in a row all over this keyboard. So I'm going to quit doing that. Nashville, you're in line for potentially 60-mile-per-hour winds once the warning is issued for Davidson, if it continues, which we, at the moment, think it will. And then those in northern Davidson County, of course, as well, could see 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. I can't see my coffee underneath this microphone. So I've got the microphone sitting here. My coffee's directly underneath the mic, and I had no idea it was there.
You might need to move that.
That's a good idea. Thanks, Will. I need to listen to you more often. That's a good idea.
I just don't want to see anything happen to your stuff.
It almost happened yesterday. We were right in the middle of the coverage yesterday, and I whacked it with my hand, and it almost went everywhere. All right, so yeah, here's your wide view. Let's do a little bit of a storm track, shall we? So let's bring up our little tracker thingy. We need to come up with a name for this. Remember, it used to be Storm Tracker 2000. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Well, 2000 came and went, and it was still cool, I guess. I think we've been running these at about 35 or 40. We'll do 37. So that would bring it into Nashville, downtown Nashville, 322. The Creve Hall area, 324. Brentwood, 322. Bakers and Goodlettsville up here on the northern end of Davidson County, about 327, 330. Could see rain before this, but that's when it thinks the storms, the main line of storms will get there.
The warning has moving east at 50.
Oh, moving 50. Well, let's redraw that, because if it's moving east at 50, that changes things just a little bit. So let's redraw that. All right. Yeah, Nashville 309. So that'd be roughly around I-65, around 309. Brentwood 310. Goodlettsville 316. Nolensville 320. Somebody asked about Nolensville just a minute ago. 319, 320 in Nolensville. And then it moves on down the line. So that's what we're looking at there. So the western edge of Williamson, about 245. Western edge of Davidson, about 255. I-65 around 310, and exiting Davidson County somewhere around 325. All right. It's a new radar scan. Let's go check out velocities again, see what's going on. New scan coming in on velocities. That always happens right after reflectivities. So let's see what the new one shows. Still holding together. Northern Dickson County and a good chunk of Montgomery County. Ignore the red there. That's a radar anomaly there. So northern Dickson County especially could see those 60-mile-per-hour winds continuing to move east. So especially northern Davidson County in line for this. Always jolting.
Never fails.
Never fails.
Never fails.
Them some hardened folks up there in Jolton. Yeah, they've dealt with it all.
Yep, they are. So yeah, looks like Fairview 249, Bellevue 304, downtown 309. I'm gonna tweet some of these ETAs out.
Cool. We're looking at TB&A now, and the storm's coming into better view. And so this is two radars here, two separate radars, completely separate. They're not related one single bit. They are two radars now showing 60-plus mile per hour winds up there, even 70 miles per hour up there, around 2,700 feet. And that's up around Charlotte. That's just north of Dickson, over there in Dickson County. So Dickson County getting... taking it on the chin, it looks like. So that's a mess up there, and we've been having a lot of these windstorms. I'm getting tired of seeing these dark blues on here, but hopefully it doesn't turn out too bad. Hopefully these winds stay aloft. Sometimes it can happen. These winds, this is up at 2,800 feet, is where the radar beam is shooting, and sometimes these winds that it's measuring don't make it all the way to the ground. We don't have a lot of reason to think today that would happen. We think that the winds have a pretty clear path down to the ground. Sometimes the atmosphere can almost cap off and not let some of those strong winds down to the surface. We're not seeing a lot of that today. So we see a pretty good chance that some strong winds are making it down to the surface. Let's go back over to the Weather Service radar. I want to look at that again. It's showing nearly the same thing as TBNA. Still seeing those 65, maybe 70 mile per hour winds possible. So the severe thunderstorm warning that brought us on here is still in effect until 3 o'clock. And we're hoping that, let's see here. Yeah, 3 o'clock. And so a couple things could happen. They could redraw this warning at 3 o'clock and extend it into Davidson County. At the moment, I think that will happen. That looks to be a pretty good bet, at least for the northern part of the county. And so I think we can expect that here pretty soon in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So strong winds continue to come through northeastern Dickson County. Going to be pushing into Davidson County here over the next 15 minutes or so. Somebody tweeted us this picture. This is from the Fox 17 camera that's in Dickson. So this was in a little bit ago, and it might get pretty dark. This is one of those storms. Might get pretty dark out there. So you can see the parking lot lights came on there at the car dealership there in Dickson. Pretty scary looking clouds coming in. So it might get pretty dark for this storm. Potentially 60 mile per hour winds there just north of town in Dickson. But that's the Fox 17 camera. I look at it quite a bit. It's a good one out there in Dickson County. Gives us an idea of what's coming in. Let's see. Let me go back here. Here's TBNA. Let's hang with it for a minute. Even down in southern Dickson County here, this radar is showing we could have some 60-plus mile per hour winds. So that's even along and south of 40 a little bit. So I don't think all the wind damage would be confined to north to 40.
Somebody in the YouTube chat just said quite windy, 46 and I-40 in Dickson. So that's right
okay.
interstate.
Yeah.
So yeah, that tracks.
That's gonna be right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. That's that first exit as you leave Nashville, Dickson exit there. So we saw this yesterday a little bit. Let me turn the lightning off. I know that red box can be a little confusing. We don't want to get too crazy with our polygons here. That's just a lightning box. We saw this yesterday where the storms actually appeared to be weakening as they moved east. They appeared so on reflectivities, but we saw a different story when looking at velocities. So while it may look on your app on your phone that the storms are weakening as they move east, maybe not as much red or maybe not a solid line, maybe kind of a broken line, don't be fooled. The velocities are still very high. So you have to kind of dig down and look in the velocity data here to see the very high winds in these storms. Even though they look a little bit unimpressive on radar here in Montgomery County, honestly, you look on velocities and there's a different story. So still could see some 70 mile per hour winds there at around 3,700 feet. And they're in Montgomery County. So still some strong winds possible in this, even though they look a little less impressive at the just at first glance. Nick says it just got windy in Burns. It's good to know. They're right in it right now. Okay. Well, we're still seeing these strong winds possible. There in Dickson. I am pulling up something on our website here. Let me just... Let's see. Yeah, hey, somebody asked in there, somebody asked if we have a page for financial support, and we appreciate you asking about that. Yeah, at the bottom of all of our blogs, there is a way for you to give on Patreon or PayPal, stuff like that. So Patreon's awesome. We love Patreon because that really helps us with the month-to-month expenses that it takes to do this. And but yeah, at the bottom of all of our blogs, just check out one of the blogs, go to the bottom, and you'll see there ways to give. At least I'm going to double check that right now because I think that's true. Yep, it's on today's blog. So we appreciate you asking. All right, let me go over to TBNA here. We're just kind of waiting for this thing. It's moving, but it's not moving incredibly fast. Coming into Fairview now. So the western sides of Fairview, right there around I-40. So Kingston Springs, Fairview, it's coming in now. Looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning coming out now. That's going to be, they're editing it a little bit. So they've edited the polygon for the severe thunderstorm warning now. And that is still for Cheatham, Dickson, Hickman, Montgomery, Robertson, Williamson. So severe thunderstorm warning continues until 3 o'clock for Williamson County. The purple, you're asking about the purple here. The purple is for, it means range folding. Basically, it means it can't interpret a signal there. No big deal. So, but it just means it can't interpret very well the radar data there. So it happens a little more on this radar than the Weather Service's radar. Let's see. Y'all should make an app. Yeah, we've thought about it. We've thought a lot about it, actually. And apps are really, really expensive. And there's a lot of updating to the app that has to happen. So not saying we never will. Just saying we all have full-time jobs and we have very little time to dedicate to building and maintaining an app. So, but we're thinking about it. It's not off the table. Not off the table. You're looking at TBNA here coming into Cheatham County, Williamson County, strong winds, 73 miles per hour at 1,400 feet. Yikes. 70 miles per hour at 1,400 feet there. I-40 and in Williamson County, I-40 in Fairview. Looks like those strong winds approaching there and approaching Fairview as well, coming into town. So if you have reports from Fairview, we'd love to know what's going on in Fairview. If it's crazy windy there or no big deal or whatever, just let us know. Hashtag T-Spotter. That'd be very, very helpful to us. Let's see here. Back over to check with the Weather Service's radar for just a second. Yeah, see, that's what's happening. These storms, they look unimpressive. There's not a lot of red. It's kind of broken areas here of storms. It's just tough to tell exactly where the strong wind is. This is very light rain up here in southern Montgomery County, but velocities are showing that there could be some 60-mile-per-hour winds with that light rain. So it's a little tough to nail down exactly where the strong gusty winds are going to be because it looks like it's kind of over a broad area. Asking a question here in chat. Okay. Let's go back over to TB&A. I think this is going to be our best shot at seeing where the high velocities are. Northwestern Williamson County looks to be the windiest right now. Looks like there could be some 60 to 70 mile per hour winds there around Blake Mont Estates. Approaching CCC Road there north of Fairview. Anywhere you see these dark blues, or bright blues, I guess I should say, bright blues, could be a place where we see some damaging winds. So coming into Fairview, Pasco, Bellevue here in just a little bit, could be some strong winds there, and those will just continue pushing east as they are. Let's put this in motion and just kind of watch this move east. So that's kind of how they're moving. Larry asked to take the warning off for Franklin and Brentwood. Franklin and Brentwood has not been under a warning yet. So Franklin and Brentwood is still downstream of this thing. So that warning has not yet even been issued. So that could come here in a little bit. Extremely windy in Fairview now. All right. So Alexis, thanks Alexis for that report. Extremely windy in Fairview. So let's go down to velocities again. Again, this is the Weather Service radar. It's not going to have a good read on that one. So let's go over to TB&A, and it shows a better picture of what's happening in Fairview. So yeah, extremely windy in Fairview now. And that's going to be 66 mile per hour winds possible there, 1,300 feet. So that's in Fairview where Alexis is. And so that's where Alexis is seeing those strong winds. So strong winds possible around the Natchez Trace Bridge area, Pasco, Bellevue. look to get hit pretty hard soon. Big wins here in Fairview, Coach Bird says. All right, so in just a bit, we should see if the severe thunderstorm warning will be pushed east and include more of Williamson and Davidson. So we'll see that here in just a little bit. The strong winds are now about to exit this polygon that's already there that expires in about 6 minutes. So pretty soon we should see whether the severe thunderstorm warning gets redrawn for more of Davidson and Williamson County or if they're going to let it go. Still some pretty strong winds being indicated, so we'll see how that pans out. But that call will come in the next couple of minutes, I'm sure, when as these winds start to exit the polygon to the east. So Pasco, Bellevue, Natchez Trace Bridge, Leapers Fork, Franklin, Forest Hills, Belle Meade. You guys are in line for this rain and pretty strong wind. Riverwalk, Bellevue, Bells Bend, also in line for this, up to Beeman Park. So if you know anybody outside, if they're up at Beeman Park or one of the parks coming in, or if somebody's out walking or running, jogging, whatever, outside, playing sports or something outside at a festival, whatever, just let them know that this is coming in. Going to be some pretty strong winds with it. Really, really windy in Kingston Springs. All right, so it appears TBNA is doing a good job of estimating these winds. And we're getting reports of pretty strong winds here in Kingston Springs. So Weather Service says that the velocities have weakened overall from earlier. Still appear to be some 40 to 60 mile per hour winds along the line. So they're going to extend the warning eastward here soon. So we will see a new severe thunderstorm warning unless something changes. We'll see a new severe thunderstorm warning come out in the next little bit. So let's go over here and take a look at reflectivities. I'm going to check into something with chat here. Yeah, okay. So we'll see a new severe thunderstorm warning here pretty soon. Will, how are we doing on reports over there? Are we seeing anything come in?
Yeah, just saw some reports of increased winds in Fairview and some folks worried about flights. I think flights will certainly be affected, but we don't really know how. I am curious about how far east they draw that warning. Will it be to the 65 corridor? Will it include both counties? So just kind of sitting here waiting for that to come out.
Yeah. This has been a sit and wait scenario. We've been sitting and waiting on this line of storms from way back. So, but I'm glad y'all are sitting and waiting with us.
Yeah.
What better place to sit and wait? National Severe Weather.
Uh-huh.
So let's see. Somebody replied over on Twitter to us saying that their trampoline just blew across the yard in Fairview. I don't doubt that. Well, that's a big warning. So that encompasses all of Davidson County and most of Williamson County. So the front of this bow echo is coming into Bellevue and Pasco, and that's where probably the strongest winds will be. This warning is for 60-mile-per-hour winds, and maybe some small hail with it. Could be a little bit of small hail, mostly a strong wind threat. And this is sort of a baseline severe thunderstorm warning, which baseline severe thunderstorm warnings can still encompass a lot of damage. So don't get the idea this is a weak storm. But we're expecting some strong winds and maybe some localized areas of 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds. And some of your more vulnerable trees, like the one in our yard that fell through our pool yesterday, it was not in great shape. And so some of the more vulnerable trees could come down with this. The nice, big, strong, healthy trees probably will do all right unless it just gets out of hand. But this is one of those that could sort of give you something to work on with the chainsaw tomorrow. And you don't want to be near those trees when they come down. Here's TBNA radar. TBNA's got a really good read on this thing. So TBNA is still showing that south of Ashland City, there in Cheatham County, could have some 70-mile-per-hour winds. And then coming into the right over the Natchez Trace Bridge could have some strong winds there, around 60, 63 miles an hour. But again, well, are they reaching the surface? We don't know, and that's why we rely on your reports. But it certainly looks like a pretty breezy storm, particularly up here in western Davidson County. Western Davidson County could have a little bit more wind than the others. Old Pond Creek Road, that's up north of Riverwalk. Oak Haven, Bells Bend. The winds look particularly strong coming into there here in the next few minutes. So here's our new severe thunderstorm warning polygon that was issued just a little bit ago. This is a new polygon that will expire at 3:45. Now, what typically happens is as the storms push east, the warning is redrawn from west to east, excluding areas where the storm has already moved through. So, the first places to be cleared out of this warning would be Ashland City, places in Dickson County, Fairview, and then it would sort of march east. So hopefully, this warning's not in effect all the way to 3:45 for us. We'll see. It may be, and that's all right. But that's what we're looking at. Going over and checking our Twitter as well, Will, just seeing if there's getting a lot of 2 p.m., 3 p.m. replies. What is that?
Oh, yeah, that's on me.
Oh, I see what that is. Sorry.
But we can edit tweets now, right?
Well, I tried to edit one earlier today and I couldn't.
Uh-oh.
When I had my mishap this morning, I was sending a thread, and I apparently can't count because I put at the end of each tree. I can't even talk either. Let's just get off. One of two.
Oh yeah,
three
you
tweets.
Can't do it on TweetDeck.
I did. I got on my phone too. I couldn't do it on my phone.
I think it's going to let me on the website.
Great. Well, I tried. Just so y'all know, I tried to edit the tweet where I just completely messed everything up, and it didn't let me. But that's sort of par for the course. All right, we're still looking at TBNA. Let's keep looking at TBNA, and let's look at this area here, right around Old Pond Creek Road, and this is going to be right around the hilly area here with a lot of trees and woods, rural area in western Williamson County. I turned the radar off, and you see all these trees here. So this is in a pretty rural area, Lakeview Drive, Cub Creek Road, right here in all these hills and trees. That's where the strongest winds are now, and it'll be crossing the Cumberland River here in a little bit, Oak Haven, the Charlotte Pike exit of I-40. But these winds are particularly strong. If they're reaching the ground, they could be up in the 70-mile-per-hour range. We hope they're not, but TBNA radar is seeing that up at about 1,000 feet. So the radar is correct that there are winds 72, 73 miles per hour up there. It's reading it right. It's just a question of if those are reaching the surface. It's reading up above 1,000 feet. So that's the $1 million question is
All right.
My coffee again.
Please.
That's the $1 million question: is what velocities are reaching the surface? I just feel discombobulated today, Will.
I'm sorry, buddy. You want me to take over?
No, I'm fine.
All right.
I'm fine. I'll make it. Let's see. Even on the Weather Service radar, we're seeing an area here of those enhanced winds, 60 miles per hour there in the western part of Davidson County. So pretty good bet those are reaching the ground. Chris Howell just sent us a reply on Twitter. He has us up on his big screen, chilling out on his couch. Nice. Chris, glad you're with us. Glad you're watching. Percy Priest ETA, families getting off the lake or should be off now. I'd be getting off. I'd be heading toward the marina and getting off the water. So I would do that now. I talked to a guy this morning. They were on Center Hill Lake yesterday when those storms came through, and he said they were grabbing life jackets on the boat. It was crazy. So you don't want to be a part of that out on a lake as it comes through. So I'll take his word for it. It was a bad deal. Somebody asked there in the chat, is there rotation? Oh, I'm sorry, if there's rotation. Yeah, so if there's rotation, we will let you know about that. I'm not seeing any rotation with this. This looks unlike yesterday where we had some little areas that sort of had our attention. This one looks pretty textbook straight line wind. So I'm not seeing those little areas yesterday that we kind of had our eye on. I'm not seeing that today. This looks pretty textbook straight line wind. Me too, John. Me too. All right, let me go over to Twitter, check reports. Not much. Christine says it sounds like someone's...
Look at the window behind me. It is super duper windy here.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, like, it just died down, but yeah, I mean, every bit as windy as it was yesterday.
Wow.
Let's see if we can.
Christine says, it sounds like someone's power washing her house in Bellevue.
Yeah. Well, I'm very close to that.
Yeah. Full screen Will here. There he is.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, it's pretty windy back there.
It is. It's getting there.
Some pretty crepe myrtles you got there.
Hey, yeah, they just bloomed. Doesn't that look nice?
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're looking at TB&A here, and still seeing those strong winds near Bellevue, near Will's house, near Temple Hills, Natchez Trace. Winds 57 miles per hour possible, up around 700 feet. And even more so up here. We're watching this area along... Highway 251. What is Highway 251? Is that River Road?
It's Briley.
No, that's 255.
251.
251. Oh, that's River. It's River Road.
River Road. Yeah,
it is River Road. So right along River Road.
That's the river in between Bell's Bend.
Right. So that's River Road Pike. That's going to be about 68 miles per hour. The winds there at 900 feet. And that's pretty windy. So Bell's Bend, we're going to want to hear some reports. If y'all can send in reports safely from Bell's Bend, we'd want to know, what it's like out there. Send us that after the storm passes. Let us know. So, yeah, it looks like we're going to have a little wind event come through Nashville here. Downtown, you can expect this here in about, I'd say, maybe 15 minutes. So this is going to be, the wind's going to pick up in downtown Nashville. If you know somebody that's outside in downtown Nashville, Broadway or wherever, tell them to get in a restaurant. You need to be inside when this comes in. You don't want to be outside in the wind and all that downtown and the lightning. It's just going to kind of be a mess. So get inside if you're downtown. Strongest winds in Bell's Bend. Excuse me, hang on just a second. Strongest winds coming through Bell's Bend right now, and right there around the river in West Nashville. So there's the river there, Bell's Bend, and there's the radar on top of it. Danielle, no wind in the Nations right now. That will change here in a little bit. You're still out ahead of this thing. It'll be there in a second. Renee lost internet and the power keeps flashing in Bellevue. Yep. I'm actually running on generator power right now just in case.
Yeah, I should have turned mine on, but my batteries are good for a while, I think. So as long as I don't lose power immediately, I'll be all right.
Well, I run the gas out of my generator about once a year, change it out, so I needed to run it anyway. So I thought, well, I'll just run things on the generator for a while. All right, let's kind of camp out.
Bell's Bend is getting walloped.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Somebody says I'm on my bicycle. Do I need to take shelter? Well,
I don't know where you are, but
it depends on where you are. We get these questions a lot about, about what's happening where they are, and we're like, we have no clue where you are. It highly depends on where you are. But generally, I would say yes. If you're on a bicycle, you need to, especially on a long ride, you need to get somewhere that's substantial and ride this thing out. But yeah, it helps to know where you are.
So somebody in the chat just said that they're in Bailey says I'm in Bell's Bend and nothing happened. I cannot believe that is true. It looks like it's getting absolutely destroyed.
Well,
not literally, but really walloped. Thunder, lightning. I see a positive strike to the west off River Road.
It's a little bit, TBNA shooting a little higher there. So it's possible those winds, the winds of 70 miles per hour aren't reaching the ground. I can see that. I could see that being possible. But I would expect at least some wind there in Bell's Bend, I would think. So hopefully so. Hopefully that, let's see, hopefully not too windy. Massive wind near downtown Franklin. Okay, so let's go back down to the south again, down to Williamson County. So we got these little pockets of. What's that? Yeah, I've got some little pockets of strong wind there in Williamson County. 54, 55 miles per hour in Battlewood Estates and Grassland and down into downtown Franklin. Just these little pockets. So anywhere you see these these brighter blues showing up in the green, those are some places where you could see some stronger winds there. Now, this is what happens when you go up in the storm. So this is at the base elevation here. This is at about 700 feet. You go up just a little bit here. We're at about 1,300 feet. See how the wind is stronger up there. And then we'll come back down and it's weaker. Okay, so that's the difference between about, 1,300 and 500 feet. Well, then you come even down closer to the surface and the winds may not even be this strong. Okay, so that's the effect of the radar beam and being further away from the ground. So hopefully a lot of these winds aren't reaching the surface, particularly up here in Bell's Bend. Good grief. So hopefully these winds aren't reaching the surface.
I wonder what the wind gust at John Toon's going to be. It's about to go right by it.
Estimating maybe a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust in Franklin a little bit ago. So that actually goes very much alongside what TB&A is showing. So TB&A looks to be doing a really fine job of this today. So right here off Hillsborough Road, somebody reported about a 50-mile-per-hour gust there. That is dead on what TB&A is showing. So looks like Chris says we got some trees down in Bellevue, he says. Wouldn't surprise me, especially, those Bradford pears. And as long as you're not under them, I say take them out. So, but hopefully they don't cause damage to anything. But trees down in Bellevue.
Yeah. Super windy here again.
Still blowing, huh?
Yeah, and really heavy rain.
I go back over to the Weather Service radar here. Let's pull back out a little bit. I mean, the thing, at first glance, it looks unimpressive here, but we know that the winds in it are really something. So had another report here. Looks like strong winds moved through West Nashville.
Look at this. Go to Cool Springs and then run south on a line to Henpeck.
Am I on TB&A or which one?
Doesn't matter. OHX.
Okay.
Or TB&A. Doesn't matter.
All right. What am I looking for?
Wind at... So I'm on OHX.
Okay.
BV from Cool Springs Galleria. Yep, right there. Okay, so what's going through McKay's Mill, Ladd Park? I wouldn't be surprised if that's some damaging wind in there. I'm getting a whole lot of very windy, wind turned on like a light switch at Cool Springs Galleria.
Yeah, I think that's where the winds are. OHX is going to have a horrible read on velocities
I don't know
there.
if those velocities are.
Now it does show where the gust front is. So location-wise, yes. So from Brentwood down Wilson Pike to McKay's Mill, down toward Page High School, that is where the gust front is. That's where the winds will pick up. We can't assume anything from velocities from this, just because the radar is up here and the storms are moving this way, and it's not going to have any read on that whatsoever. But that's exactly where that is.
So on what do you see on TB&A?
TB&A is a little better. It's still not going to have a good read of Southern Williamson. TB&A still it's a little better, but it's still at a bad angle. So I would expect strong winds from McKay's Mill down to Page and the Fairgrounds and even Bethesda here in a little bit. But we're not going to see them show up real well on velocities just because of the angle to this. So it looks like a new special weather statement has been issued. That's going to be for Williamson County, Williamson, Murray, Marshall, Rutherford, Bedford, Giles. So new special weather statement will be issued. That's going to be for the southern storms. Let's go here.
NWS also saying 4,000 customers without power in the western half of Davidson.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be where those strong winds are out there toward Bell's Bend and western Davidson County. That would be right where those strong winds are. I think we had a little over 10,000 customers, I think, yesterday. Was it yesterday or day before?
Yesterday.
Dude, I can't remember all the storm events we've had. But yeah, I think we had about 10,000 yesterday. So big number there in western Davidson County of power outages. New special weather statement, that's for southern Williamson County, and it looks like winds up to 30 miles per hour possible there from Columbia, Spring Hill, Thompson Station, Bethesda, College Grove there. So yeah, it looks pretty windy there. I'm going to go back to TBNA. And let's see here. There we go. Yeah, still strong winds. Strong winds being indicated from Briley Parkway, Bordeaux, Briley Parkway down to the Nations, Bells Bend, the Charlotte Pike exit. Ryan says very strong winds. We're on the front edge of this one, and strong intermittent gusts. And he would expect there might be some trees down. Amy says the gusts of winter in the Nations with some rain. Wind rolling in hard in Creve Hall now, Jason says. Power out at Leland and Battery. That's going to be in the Oak Hill area. Let's look at the Weather Service radar. Weather Service radar showing some strong winds there around Oak Hill. I went right through Oak Hill, actually. So right around the Harding Place exit, Overton Lee, Gateway Acres, Burton Valley. So those areas there in Oak Hill along Harding Place and Tyne Boulevard. Looks like some strong winds just came through there and through Creve Hall. Good picture here from Twitter of downtown. Looks pretty ominous. Hopefully its bark is worse than its bite. I'm sorry, I was showing TBNA just then. That's not the Weather Service radar. That's TBNA showing those strong winds in Oak Hill.
Very gusty winds near Trinity Park. Hillsborough, Belmont. So, yeah, I believe all that.
Seems like the gusty winds are pretty widespread. The question is the little pockets of potentially damaging winds. You know, how many are those? How many are there of those? How many pockets like that will we see where we bring down trees? But it looks like pretty much everybody will get the gusty winds with maybe some enhanced pockets of damaging winds. The Weather Service is saying that overall, so 30,000 foot view, velocities seem to be weakening as they go east. That's a good thing. So very slowly, it looks like winds are coming down. You know, I need to text my wife. She's coaching a softball scrimmage. I should have done that 10 minutes ago.
Where is she? What part of town?
She's over in eastern Williamson County. Okay, they just got in the car. Good.
Okay,
all right. I should have done that a little bit ago. So, again, it looks like a report here. A house in Lenox Village just lost power. 3 large oak trees have fallen on our property, Katie says, near 96 and I-40. So that's going to be back there in Fairview.
What is around Governor's Club right there, Andrew?
Oh, just more of the same.
In there?
I mean, yeah, just some
It looks nasty on OHX, but I don't
Does
think
it?
that's real. No.
Let me see here.
But I do think OHX has a good look at what's happening in Haynes Bottom and Bordeaux.
Yeah, but keep in mind that OHX is also looking down there in the Governor's Club area at almost zero reflectivities, so it's going to have a hard time sampling that anyway, because it's in clear air basically.
There,
so,
yeah. Haynes Bottom, east of Bells Bend.
Yeah, that's that consistent area of gusty winds that we've seen on there. TBNA has held really strong onto that. That those winds are 50 plus miles per hour up in that area, northwestern, just northwest of Nashville. Green Hills patio furniture was rearranged. That's probably a pretty common sight today.
Yeah, I see that. No damage reports except for that one back in Fairview from Katie on Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and put that in chat.
Yeah, we are getting a lot of power outage reports, and that typically, power went out in the Green Hills area, the Creve Hall area, over by Granbury, Lenox Village. We're getting a lot of reports like that, and that typically means that trees or limbs or something are coming in contact with the lines, and whether that's just for a second and it trips it and it comes back, or whether something actually fell over the line. When you get power outage reports like that, something has to cause that fault. And that typically, and on a day like today, typically that's some tree branches or something coming down and nicking the lines or falling on the lines or something. So the fact that we're getting so many power outage reports tells me we might get some pictures of some trees or at least limbs down. So wind just got to my house. My goodness. I just heard another tree come down.
Yep.
Man, I tell you, I haven't even cut up the first one yet.
Mm-hmm.
The first one from yesterday is still laying down in my yard, and I just heard another one fall.
Yep.
I guess I know what I'll be doing tomorrow.
I am not envious of David.
Of who?
David, doing the outbound on Twitter is time consuming. And
It is. You're doing a good job, Will. Keep it up.
David, if you're watching, you do a great job. This is hard. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, Will's talking to us here and running Twitter and taking reports. I'm just chilling out over here talking to you guys, drinking coffee, Will. I could do something if you want me to.
Yeah, just chilling, right?
I'm listening to work pile up outside my house.
Uh-huh.
Strong winds right now being indicated around Belle Meade, Forest Hills.
Take a look at the reflectivity there. I got some 60s, I think, in Forest Hills.
Yeah, heavy rain still. Let me go over to, let's pull that up. Let's go to reflectivity. Heavy downpours. Belle Meade, Forest Hills, right there where we were talking about. Could be some strong winds under this rain. From Charlotte Pike down to Forest Hills, Percy Warner Park, Otter Creek, Radnor Lake, Tyne Boulevard, Green Hills. So, yeah, definitely could be some strong winds there. Right underneath that heavy cell. Very heavy rain there. The Weather Service is acknowledging their TBNA still showing some 50 knot velocities. That's going to be in the 58 mile per hour range, 200 feet above the ground. So some 40 to 60 mile per hour winds still occurring along the line in the Nashville metro area. Just got a text from a friend. The road cones blew all over the road in the construction on Highway 96 east of Franklin. So careful if you're driving over there. Seriously, that's kind of a mess. That's a mess when construction cones are in the right spot.
Pine tree down in Brentwood in our replies.
pretty decent roar outside the window right now. Yeah, Dan sent this picture in. This is of that pine tree Will was just talking about. Yep, those pine trees tend to snap off about halfway up. It's typically how they go down. So that one is same story. All right, so we have one severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Let's talk about that for just a second. So pretty much all of Davidson County is still in the severe thunderstorm warning. A good chunk of Williamson County is inside the warning. Franklin, Brentwood, Nolensville, Cool Springs, still in the severe thunderstorm warning. As this stuff moves east, that's we can see the polygon's been whittled away back from Dickson County to Ashland City, so it's getting smaller, and that's good. But we are still inside this thing, so looks to be we'll probably be inside this for another 30 minutes or so.
That wind north of downtown, north of Germantown Metro Center, has calmed down a little bit. It looks like as it heads towards 65.
Yeah, and OHX radar has a good view of that now, and it looks like there's just a small pocket here of maybe some 53s, 57, 58.
Yeah, Donaldson. Check Donaldson.
Donaldson.
East to Shelby Bottom, south of Wave Country. I see some.
Yeah, but again, that's outside of the reflectivities, so it's going to be you're not going to get a good velocity read there. So that's a radar noise issue there.
It's gotta be.
Yeah. So typically, your best radar velocities are going to be where the radar can also sample rain. For a radar to be able to give a velocity reading, it's got
to see stuff move.
The radar beam has to bounce off of something for it to send a signal back about how fast it's moving, and it's hard to do that when there's no reflectivities there. So that's what we were talking about there in Donaldson. Interesting view here on TB&A. It looks like most of the strongest winds, are moving across Percy Priest Lake and into Smyrna, or into Laverne and Smyrna in Rutherford County, starting to exit Williamson County here shortly. So you can see how that moves there. And so still strong winds possible. Could be some strong winds still around Burton Valley, Gateway Acres, Overton Lee there in Oak Hill, right over Hogan Road, Creve Hall, Radnor Lake, there along Franklin Road, Harding Place. Still some strong winds possible there. Things tend to be coming down. The Weather Service had a great observation of that here just a little bit ago. They said that winds generally, velocities appear to be weakening. That was about 10 minutes ago, and they said that in our Weather Service chat room, and it seems right. The velocities seem to be coming down with these storms. That's a good sign. We like to see that. So it's it looks as discombobulated as I am today. It looks like it's sort of falling apart. They're from Kentucky down to the Alabama border, but still some strong velocities, strong winds possible as it continues to weaken. But not seeing anything crazy, Will. I'm sort of looking through here again, and I mean they really do.
I don't like what's happening on Priest Lake. I think that there's going to be some gust front winds that come through there.
Yeah, I think the gust front winds, 30, 40, 50 miles per hour there, Yeah, that makes a mess on the lake just from the standpoint of winds. Hopefully, if they've seen the lightning and have gotten off the water. Anytime, again, I talked to a guy this morning, and I know this guy pretty well, and I know that he's not, he doesn't get afraid at the drop of a hat. He and his family were on a boat yesterday at Center Hill, and that storm came through, and they didn't have a lot of time to get off the water, and they were out in the middle of the lake, man, and they were grabbing life jackets out of their boat. They said that water was so rough, just white capping. So a lake can change fast when a storm moves over. And that's what happened yesterday out at Center Hill, and could happen today on Percy Priest. Those of you that are on the water a lot out there know that things can change quick. Weather Service says that based on current radar trends, they're not planning to extend the warning eastward as the line of storms is weakening. So those of you, if you happen to be watching from Sumner and Wilson and Rutherford counties, we only covered Davidson and Williamson, so we'll jump off here after a while. But they are not planning on extending the warning to the east once this one expires. This one expires. What did we say, Will? What time does this thing expire? It expires at 3:45, so 10 minutes from now. Yeah, I'm looking at both radars here, TBNA and OHX, and I'm very encouraged.
Yeah, I don't see those pockets of 60 mile per hours that we were seeing earlier.
Maybe just a little bit of those over in Rutherford, but
there's still plenty of gusty wind. I mean, even like looking back in downtown, they're still looking at 30, 40 mile an hour wind.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll replace it with a special weather statement.
Yeah. Based on what they usually do with those, they might replace that with a special weather statement. Yeah. So got velocities on OHX. Let's sort of do a tour of there. And I'm encouraged. I'm not seeing too much in the way of velocities that really have my attention.
I have some tree reports, Andrew, if you want to look at them in our replies.
Okay. Looks like maybe some. I'm just going to guess this is low voltage. Looks like landscape lighting transformer got bit by some lightning. Let's see what else.
Yeah, I see that.
Nolensville, a little bit gusty. A little tree split there. Split tree in Nolensville. This is in Sylvan Park. So Aaron sent this in from Sylvan Park. This is Hillsborough Village. So looks like some lines got brought down there in Hillsborough Village. Tree limb came down on their power line at their house. Let's see. Ooh, a time lapse. Now, I haven't seen this, but I like time lapses. There we go. Time lapse as it came through Nolensville. Very nice. Thanks, Jason. Good time lapse. 70S between between the Lakes and Hillmead Apartments. So, Katie, thanks for sending that in. It's Highway 70S. Looks to be pretty. Well, no, I'm saying it looks like both lanes blocked there on the right side.
Yeah.
Maybe 1.5 lanes there. So, yeah, that's gonna have to get cleaned up. Lewisburg Pike and Franklin. So I think it's safe to say we've got just scattered reports of some tree damage. Doesn't look like anything completely widespread, but it looks like some scattered damage of, trees and power lines. There's another power line down. Can't tell if it's a cable line or a power line. I think that's a power line. So tree split there, Hopewood Drive, behind Southern Hills Medical Center. So, yeah, continue to send those reports in. The best way to do that, we probably will see it in our replies, but best way to do it is to use hashtag TSpotter on Twitter. So the replies are fine. We may not see them, though. So we really, really are watching the hashtag TSpotter on Twitter. We have that up all the time here.
Yeah, our replies can be a little overwhelming sometimes, I think is a good way to explain it. Yeah. So if it's a real report, TSpotter is a great way to segregate that so we can see it right away.
Yep.
What do you think, Andrew? I think we're
doing good. I'm looking at I was just pulling up the outage map here with NES. So 8,000 customers out. Looks like the largest is there around the 70-100 split there in Bellmead. Looks like a big outage there. Looks like a big outage. Oh, man, they had this one out yesterday, actually, as well. So about 1,300 out there in Western Davidson, and then some other outages. Looks like several outages around Bellmead, Forest Hills, and Oak Hill. So it looks like some pretty big outages there. So let's check Middle Tennessee Electric, and then we'll get ready to jump off here in a minute. Let's check Middle Tennessee Electric. Looks like only about 161 customers out in Williamson County, and that is 0.16% of customers. So doing pretty good in Williamson County. So it looks like about 161 customers out there, mostly up in the Fairview area. Whoa, that's cool. There we go. So, Will, I think I'm encouraged by everything. I think we're probably the only thing I want to. Yeah, let me stress this a little bit. Up here in Rivergate, southeast of Rivergate, between Old Hickory, Swinging Bridge Road. That's actually Swinging Bridge Road is right there near the plant, and right there near Old Hickory Dam. So
near the nylon plant up there.
Yeah. So there's the plant right there. Here's Old Hickory Dam. And right here coming into the plant is where the some strong winds are coming in. Could be 60 miles per hour. That's pretty close to the radar site. So 300 feet off the ground, 50, 60 miles per hour there. And there's your newest radar scan. It's moving across Old Hickory Lake right now. So moving right across Old Hickory Lake, right there around Old Hickory, around the plant, is where some 60 mile per hour winds are. And those are moving into Sumner County as we speak. Another little area here, let me see if that's legit, around Lakewood. Might or might not be legit. Right around Lakewood, moving east. Again, heading right into Sumner and Wilson counties here in just a little bit. But could be some strong winds there around Lakewood and Old Hickory, moving east. But those are quickly, within a minute, those winds will be over in Wilson and Sumner counties. So hopefully at Hermitage Golf Course, it wasn't too bad there, but it could have some strong winds that went over the golf course. Not exactly sure. Let's run down the line here a little bit. That's going to have a bad read on it. Let's go over to TBNA. Again, you see the reds. That's wind going away from the radar. So clearly the strongest winds have pushed east of the radar site in Nolensville, and they are over there in to Rutherford County. Yeah, Will, I'm thinking this is good. So I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's continue sending in your reports. Use hashtag TSpotter on Twitter. And that's the best way to get a hold of us. Let us know that you had some tree damage or something. Those reports continue coming in. We're getting some new reports now from Hillsboro, Glencliff, Glencoe, Acres. It's trees down. So we're continuing to get reports in there. And TSpotter, hashtag TSpotter is the best way to get a hold of us there and let us know about that tree damage. And we will, there's one right there. So that's a tree through a fence there. And that's no good. Don't want to be anywhere around that when that happens.
Nope.
So we will continue getting pictures of that. Weather Service says they do plan on continuing with an advisory as the storms weaken and as they continue to move east. So looks like a power line on fire in East Nashville. Yep, that's exactly what that is. So the breaker hadn't tripped on that line, and got some arcing there up in the tree. That's no good. So heads up for that. That's over in East Nashville. No good. So Holly sent that in from East Nashville. All right, Will, let's jump off of here. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. You guys have a great afternoon. Thanks for being with us, and continue to send in those reports with hashtag TSpotter, and we'll talk to you later. And we will be updating the forecast for a potential overnight round of storms. Severe thunderstorm warning just disappeared. Potential overnight round of storms. We will be back to update the forecast this evening for that, and we'll keep you updated through the night if we need to for that potential round of storms tonight. Y'all have a great